What's happening? What's shaking? What's doing? Welcome to episode 363 of MCRAE Live. Today is Wednesday, October the 29th, 2025, 6:08 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. My name's Dave MCRAE, coming to you live from the Voiceman Studios in Toronto, Canada. And tonight, I am finally giving my thoughts on Terrifier 3. The bloodbath gore fest that is Terrifier 3. It's the Halloween season. Halloween is 2 days away. What are you doing on Halloween? Are you running around buck naked with a butcher knife in your hand? Or are you dressing up as Michael Myers? One of the two will do. Ow! Do it again! What's going on, everybody? I hope you are having a wonderful Halloween season. October is almost done. It's almost done. And then Christmas is just around the corner. The American Thanksgiving. That's right. There is a Canadian Thanksgiving. We had ours. The Canadian Thanksgiving is the second Monday in October. The American Thanksgiving, of course, is the last Thursday in November. The holidays are just Christmas. Santa's going to be stuffing his fat ass down your chimney in just a couple of months, folks. What happens if you don't have a chimney? Well, no, he'll knock on the front door. But tonight we're talking Terrifier 3, the future of Terrifier. What did I think of Terrifier 3? I finally got around to seeing it a couple of weeks ago before I ventured off to the UK to attend for the Love of Horror convention, which was a great time, by the way. Shout out again to Darren of the Slaughtered Lamb Movie Podcast and Mr. Sandsman and, of course, his wife and everybody who I met over there who were amazing, and the hospitality was tremendous and awesome. I had a great time at For the Love of Horror, and so shout out to everybody that came up and said hello and got pictures taken, and we exchanged, pleasantries and chatted for a moment or two. Really awesome to meet some of you that came up. If you didn't come up and you saw me and you waved and I missed you, my apologies. There were a lot of people in there. It was crazy. But a really great time, of course, hanging out with Barry from Wolfman's Got Nards and Colin Murdy. Shout out to Colin Murdy. Colin Murdy is one awesome dude, ladies and gentlemen. Amazing. And what else? It was just a great weekend. A lot of fun hanging out with people, catching up, of course, with, people I hadn't seen in a while, which was great too. So, had a lot of fun at the convention, a lot of fun in the UK, my first time over there, which was really, really cool. But it was a whirlwind. You know what I mean? It was one of those things where you're like, you're in, you're out, and you're home, and you're like, did that happen? Like, was that a dream? Did that happen? It was one of those kinds of things, right? So I'd love to go back where I have more time, right? Maybe I have a week or two where I can explore more of the country and just kind of take my time a bit more. Maybe attend a convention, but also have more time to do other things, which I think would be awesome. So, but the time I did have there was really cool. It was really, really awesome. Had a great time. Shout out, of course, to Miko Hughes as well. He didn't know I didn't tell him I was going. I knew he was going because he was attending and signing. And I was going to send him a message. I was going to text him or send him a message and say, hey, I'm coming. But then I thought, you know what? I'm not going to do that. I want to surprise him. And he almost fell off his chair. He was like, what the fuck are you doing here? It was great. Really a lot of fun to hang out with Miko. So shout out to Miko. Really, really, just a classy guy, always in a positive mood and ready to meet people. And his line was really long. I mean, he was having a great time. He said to me it was one of the best conventions he's ever done. It was just people where I don't think he had ever been to For the Love of Horror, so that might be why he was really, really busy. People are like, oh my God, Miko Hughes, Gage, he's coming over. So I think that, holy snap. So his line was really long. Everybody's lines are really long, but Miko's is really long too, which is great. Always great to see friends busy at these things, which is awesome. And what else? Yeah, it's just been great. It's just been a really awesome time. I had a lot of fun. Again, shout out to everybody that made my trip awesome. It was just so much fun to to be there and to be in great company with great food too. It was great food, which is awesome. So here we are. We are here. I am back in Toronto. Go Blue Jays! I got to say that the Toronto Blue Jays are in the World Series for the first time in 32 years. They're going up against the mighty Titanic Goliath of a team, the Los Angeles Dodgers. The series is tied 2-2. They're playing tonight. If the Jays win tonight, they're up 3-2. They're flying back to Toronto tomorrow. What's going to happen? It's going to be crazy. We'll talk more about that a bit later. But nonetheless, very exciting as a Toronto Blue Jays fan. But of course, I'm wearing my Buffalo Sabres hat. I should have worn my Jays hat. Anyway, here we are, folks. Let's talk about Terrifier 3. Halloween's just around the corner, just a couple of days away. And I want to talk some Terrifier and some Terrifier 3 because before I ventured off to the UK, I sat down and I watched Terrifier 3 because they were showing a screening of Terrifier 3 at For the Love of Horror. And so I wanted to kind of be brushed up on it in case we attended it. And, you know, I didn't want to have to I didn't want that to be my first time seeing it because at a convention, there's people talking and yapping and people half paying attention and people coming up to you and all that kind of stuff. So I wanted to kind of be familiar with it at the very least if we decide to stay and watch it. So, and I hadn't seen it yet. I know, it's been like a year. So I finally sat down and I watched Terrifier 3. Now, for those of you that may not know, I am not the world's biggest Terrifier fan. That is not a slight on Terrifier. That's just me. Terrifier is just not... Look, I'm happy it exists. I think it's great for independent horror. I think it's great for horror in general, which is good. But... even when I watched the first one 4 or 5 years ago, I was like, I can appreciate it for what it is, but it's not my kind of horror. I think there's room for everybody at the table, but it's not my kind of horror traditionally. And if you follow me for any length of time, you know that. But I appreciate it for what it was. I watched Terrifier 2. I think the first time I watched it was on an episode of Two Dudes with Tony Michael, where we did a watch along. I enjoyed it enough. You know, it was more of Terrifier, but bigger. And so I sat down to watch Terrifier 3. Now, here are my thoughts. So I didn't hate the movie. It's not like I loathed it and thought it was a piece of crap. But I didn't love it. I think... Here's the thing, okay? And I've talked about this ad nauseum, and forgive me if I sound like a broken record, but it's important. I think it's important. So when it comes to the Terrifier franchise, I have often said that one of the big reasons why it is so successful, and again, this is not a slight, okay? This is just an observation. One of the big reasons why it is so successful, there's two reasons, but one of the big reasons, let's say Art the Clown. Sure, he's a great looking character. He's art friendly. I don't mean Art the character, but he's art friendly. And I mean that he's, artists have a lot of fun drawing Art the Clown, right? On t-shirts and posters and fan art and cover art. And he's very artistic friendly, if you know what I mean. The kind of villain, the big teeth and the, kind of thing. And so definitely David Howard Thornton's portrayal of Art the Clown, the antagonist, is, there's an attraction there. I can understand and I can see the attraction, despite that he doesn't say a word. But the real big reason, in my estimation, why these Terrifier films are so popular is because of, as I've often said, the gimmick, the shtick, and the hook. Now, gimmick and shtick are often thrown around in sort of a negative context. And I don't mean it that way. I just mean that there's a hook to this, right? And that hook is that these are, by and large, generally speaking, splatter films. That's what they are, right? Yes, they're slasher films for all intents and purposes, but these are exploitative, gratuitous gore, splatter. I have to close the curtains. I can't tell my neighbors I'm watching this. I feel like I'm watching something I shouldn't. This feels very like, 70s gore porn kind of stuff, right? That's what they are. They're unrated, so the MPA is not rating them, so you can see everything. and they're very popular. And that really is, in my estimation, the hook of these films. And most people go to these movies, even if you realize this consciously or not, to see how gorier and bigger and bloodier it's going to be, right? I mean, that's the kind of the point, right? I mean, there were people taking their grandparents and their friends and their moms and dads, tricking them to see Terrifier 3. No, it's just a regular horror movie. No, it's a wonderful Christmas movie. There were people doing that, and they were doing that because they know 5 seconds in, it's like, oh my God, right? Part of the shtick and the hook and the fun of these movies is it's step right up and see how gory it is this time. I question whether these movies and Art the Clown would be, and I'm not saying they wouldn't, but I wonder if these movies and if Art the Clown and if the Terrifier franchise would be nearly as popular and as successful if they were, how do I say it, regular horror movies rated by the MPA, rated R, like watching a Friday the 13th movie or something. It's gory, but, it's just kind of regular, what you expect. Like watching, I don't know, Thanksgiving, you know what I mean? Or watching It, or something, just a regular horror film. I question whether without the hook of step right up, ladies and gentlemen, and let's see how many of you will barf this time. Without that there, I wonder how successful or popular these films would be. I'm not saying they wouldn't be just as popular, but I think the hook and the shtick and the gimmick of the gratuitous gore, there's nothing wrong with that. I'm just saying that is the market. That is what gets people into the theater to see this thing. I question whether it would be as popular without it. So watching Terrifier 3, Terrifier 2 felt like a step up from Terrifier. Terrifier was shot for $35,000, $40,000, somewhere around there. It was truly independent. It may have been non-union, although I understand there's a lawsuit at the moment with one of the actresses and that whole thing, and she's saying that she took the SAG. That's a whole different sort of conversation that we can have, that I can dive into, but to give it justice and to look at it would take a little bit. It's not something you can just kind of answer in 30 seconds. But if you want to talk about that later, we can. But it may have been a non-union shoot with some union, an actor or two on there. I'm not sure. Anyways, that aside, it felt very sort of, small and indie and gory, and it was, it was like, oh, this is interesting. This has potential. It's that dark, taboo, underground, and I say this, in a positive way, but like those 70s splatter, underground kind of stuff. Then part 2 comes along, and it's horror, but it's also almost horror fantasy. It feels bigger because it almost switches genres halfway through or 3/4 of the way through. When you have that fantasy element to it, and is it Sienna? I think that's her name. With the sword and the costume and all this kind of stuff. Like it really is. It's not quite as dark. It kind of almost felt like what Happy Death Day 2 did. You know what I mean? Where it's like you think you're going one way and all of a sudden, oh, wow, it's like a sci-fi fantasy horror, which I actually didn't mind for Happy Death Day 2. I know some people didn't really like it, but I actually didn't mind it. But that aside, that kind of thing sort of happened, right? Where you're like, oh, this is not quite as dark, not quite as gritty, not quite as... but then there's the bedroom scene, right? There's the bedroom scene. Oh, everybody's talking about the bedroom. That's the equivalent of the hacksaw scene, in part 1. But it felt bigger, a lot of set pieces. They put a lot of money into it. It was crowdfunded. And you have all this kind of big thing. And, I enjoyed it for what it was. Again, not my kind of horror. So watching Terrifier 3, because of the hook and because of the shtick, right? Because of that, we have to keep topping ourselves. Terrifier 3 felt to me, for me, in my opinion, that it's peaked. I felt the peak in Terrifier 3. I didn't, and again, take this with a grain of salt, because again, I'm not the target, horror fan for these movies, but I didn't enjoy 3 as much as I enjoyed 2. You know what I mean? I thought 3 was just, again, because the need to go bigger and bloodier and gorier is always there. I found that you peaked very early in Terrifier 3 because there's all this gore that your bedroom / hacksaw scene in part 3, which is essentially the chainsaw shower scene, it didn't hit me really. I didn't really feel anything. It's just kind of like, yeah, I've already seen certain levels of this gore like 4 or 5 times already in this movie. And so that shock factor that the Terrifier films are built on and rely on, for me, has peaked. And I didn't feel anything. I didn't feel, and because the story is still sort of finding itself, I wasn't emotionally invested in the story to compensate for maybe being, desensitized to the gore. The story is still very much evolving. I mean, you really don't know where the hell this is going. And so, I just found it, I don't. Now, I will say this. The opening of 3, I quite enjoyed the cinematography. I quite enjoyed the very opening where you see the little girl and she gets up and the whole. I found that the way they lit it, it had a very surreal, dreamlike quality. And I quite enjoyed that. It was gritty. There was some grain. I don't know if that grain is I don't know what they shot on. I don't know the resolution they shot on. I don't know if they shot like 8K and put it down to 4K, or if they shot, I don't know what they did or what they shot on, but there's some grain there, which could have been added in post. It could be intentional, which works. But I have to say, the look of that, it felt very dreamlike, very surrealist, dreamlike, with the snow out the window. You could tell it was a set, but it was just, it worked. Like, it worked really kind of well in that regard. Or not necessarily a set on a sound stage, but in terms of it being just kind of small. I liked it. I liked the way it was shot. Some of the lighting choices I liked. I liked the way it looked. But overall, the movie just didn't shock me in the ways that I was shocked when watching the first Terrifier film, like 5 or 6 years ago. And I was less shocked watching 2 because I knew what to expect, but still kind of like that bedroom scene. You're like, whoa, wow, that was really well done, guys. Like, yeah. I didn't feel any of that here. Even when we got to the chainsaw shower scene. Now, the effects are great. There's nothing wrong with the effects themselves. The effects are great, very well done, over the top, as you would expect in Terrifier. But there's a point that we have to remember, too, is that there's a point where when pushing the envelope to be bigger, gorier, bloodier, nastier, more violent and vile, there's a point where it can also become comical because it's too over the top. It's too ridiculous. And you run that risk of it being like, this is no longer, and maybe that works with Terrifier, maybe because it's Terrifier. But I found Terrifier 3 really pushing that hilarious instead of shocking kind of vein. So for me, in terms of the identity of the Terrifier franchise and what Terrifier is all about, has peaked. I don't know where you go with 4. Damien Leone is writing it, and he says it's going to be bigger and badder, and I have no doubt that well, yes, because it has to be. That's the identity of Terrifier. You can't deliver, because it's not story-based, it's not a character, spitting cat hair all over the place. It's not a character driven film or franchise with, a lot of story. He's sort of kind of finding the story as he goes along. The identity is the over-the-top, gratuitous blood, guts, and gore. That's the kind of movie it is. It is a splatter film. It's a 70s, a nod to the, it's total splatter, late night drive in, your parents don't want you to go see. You know what I mean? Like it's old school. And that's the identity. And he knows that. But how many of those movies can you make in a franchise without even the fan base? And again, I'm not the target. I'm not the, but even the fan base going, all right, like it's kind of, because even before I had seen the movie, remember what I said, if you follow me, I had Terrifier fans. These are the demographic. Terrifier fans reaching out to me last year saying that they liked 3, but that nothing really shocked them in it anymore. It was just more of, like it wasn't gorier necessarily. It was just more of it, which gives you the impression that it's gorier because there's more of it. So what Damien Leone does in 4, and I'm not saying he doesn't have a trick up his sleeve and he can't do it, but how many different ways can we see people mutilated and guts spilled all over the floor? I mean, now he did kill children in 3, not on screen. Of course, there was the child at the beginning, the boy, the brother, who was killed off screen. And then, of course, the parent opens the door and we see the body of the boy. But outside of venturing into a territory where you are now killing children on screen, like imagine the chainsaw shower scene, but with children. Imagine the bedroom scene in Terrifier 2, but with a child. I don't think Damien Leone's going to go there. I don't think he's going to go there. I think that's even a limit he won't go. But outside of doing that or killing animals, not real animals, of course, but killing, animals on screen, I don't know what other shock we can have. Now, he can make it gory-er. He can make it more of that stuff. Like, I'm going to make Terrifier 3, but on roids, sure. But are we going to be shocked by it? Is the, that was so well established in the first 2 movies. And depending on who you are, maybe 3. But is that, because that is the identity of the Terrifier franchise. That is what these films are. They're not just slasher movies. You can't just call it a slasher movie and put it next to Halloween or something. These are splatter movies. These are, and I don't say that in a negative way. There's such things as splatter movies. And this would fall in, if this movie had come out in 1976 or something, it would be that late night drive-in that your parents, it would totally, it'd play, alongside Last House on the Left or something. You know what I mean? Like it's one of those kinds of, and so, and because they're unrated and because people are so desperate for a new slasher icon and villain, we're so desperate, and the regular slasher movies are tame nowadays. I mean, Thanksgiving and, it did okay. I think it made about 40 million at the box office or something. It probably did well in PVOD as well and sales. But, these are regular, it's not shocking you. And so this idea to release these movies in the theaters unrated, yeah, there's a bit of an illusion almost happening. Like, let's not forget this isn't the norm. Or will it become the norm? Is this the future of horror? Because Silent Night, Deadly Night is also releasing unrated, as far as I know. I stand to be corrected, but I think that's the case. Is this the new future of horror? We've done everything. People are desensitized. Sure, Michael does well because of name recognition, but Thanksgiving didn't make Halloween numbers, right? And it's the same kind of slasher movie in terms of gore and blood and that kind of thing. Well, it's not making, $250 million at the box office. So if we can't make Freddy, Jason, or Michael, I mean, if we want to introduce new slashers, we can't, it's almost like if we want to really, are we going to have to, I guess we got to make it bloody and gory and crazy and slice up kids and make it unrated, and because people are so desensitized now. And so that's what's getting these people into the theaters. It's not necessarily that Art the Clown and Terrifier are so appealing. They have an appeal, clearly, but let's not pretend that we're comparing apples to apples here, because we're not. I mean, let's be honest, we're not. The people went to see, people went to see Terrifier 2 to see if it was going to top Terrifier. People went to see Terrifier 3 to see if it's going to top Terrifier 2, and so on and so forth, and so on and so forth. And so with that identity, I question how much farther he can go without having to cross a line just to shock people. Well, I mean, if I just show another chainsaw scene, how many times can I show bodies being mutilated until people are just like, yeah, it was okay. You know what I mean? Because it's already happening. And don't take my word for it. You've heard me say this. Like I said, a year ago, I had Terrifier fans say to me, it was okay. It was just more of the same thing, but nothing shocked me like the bedroom scene. Terrifier, not everybody said that, but some Terrifier fans were saying that. So that goes to show you that even Terrifier fans, not all of them, but even Terrifier fans are hitting that point where it's like, okay, this is like, I don't know where else we go now. Like, we've, how many times can we show, body parts? And so I find it interesting purely from a sociological and filmmaking perspective in terms of what Leon's going to do, the audience, how the audience reacts, the behavior. I'm fascinated to see what he's going to do with 4. And I've never met him. I've never spoken to him. I suspect that one of the and this is purely speculation on my part, one of the reasons he may want to wrap it up with 4 is because he knows this. Because he goes, I don't know what, I can't keep, like, what the hell else am I going to do? I got to wrap this thing up, right? I mean, the shelf life of Art the Clown, or the shelf life of the identity of Art the Clown. And what I mean by identity is the hook, the shtick, the hook, the shtick, the gimmick has a shelf life. Now, art may be able to go on in other forms, maybe an animated series or something. I don't know, but in terms of this gratuitous over the top stuff, that's got a shelf life until people are been there, done that. And so I think he knows that. And I think he's like, I gotta wrap this up. And also, he's been successful enough now that he's certainly had offers. He's had opportunities. I'm sure he's had opportunities come up where he now wants to venture off and do other things, do maybe a studio film or do something that isn't horror. I mean, it might still be in the realm of horror, but maybe it's a thriller or maybe it's a drama or something. He might have some things he wants to do, and now he's going to leverage that success and go and do it. And I think that's great. And depending on how successful he is or isn't in doing that will likely dictate whether he himself comes back to Terrifier and there's a Terrifier 5. Now, it's also possible that he could make enough from Terrifier 4 and look at himself and say, okay, I'm a wealthy man now and I've got this, that, and the other. And you know what? Maybe I'll license this out. Maybe I won't do Terrifier 5, but maybe I will hire somebody else to do Terrifier 5. I'll come on as a producer, and therefore Art the Clown can continue on in 5, 6, 7, and 8. And he's just there kind of as a producer or as a consultant. He may do that. He holds out his hand and a check falls into his hand. And so that's entirely possible as well. Right now, he owns it all. And so he's reaping the benefits of it all, but he may not want to do that indefinitely. I mean, he may be like, So I'm very curious to see where this goes. I didn't hate the movie. It was a Terrifier movie. It is. It's not my kind of horror. It's not the kind of movie that I would ever watch again because it's just not. For me and horror, it doesn't have the rewatchability because it's not my kind of horror. But for the kind of horror it is, it's well done for the kind of subgenre splatter horror it is. And also, I think actually the best thing, aside from David Howard Thornton, who does a good job as art, I think the best thing in these certainly these last two is it Lauren Lavera, is that her name? Who plays Sienna? I think she's terrific. I think she's she's a really, really good actress. And I think she elevates actually the material. I think she elevates the material, which is good. And so I think she's great. I hope she has a really successful career after this is done, because I think she's really talented. And yeah, I think so. Shout out to her. I think she's awesome. She's obviously very beautiful, but she's also very talented, which can be a deadly combination. So I think that's very good. I saw that David Howard Thornton was in something else recently. Something Nelly or something. I hope he doesn't get typecast, but he might. He's playing a lot of clowns lately, or a lot of sort of creatures under makeup, but maybe that's his thing. I mean, maybe he doesn't have an interest in, at the end of the day, some people are character actors. And we have to remember that even Robert Englund, who's getting his star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame on Friday, he's a character actor. He's not a leading man. He's a character actor. And a lot of people that do find themselves under makeup, or playing, in different costumes or things like that, are ultimately character actors. So David Howard Thornton may not see himself as ever being a leading man or leading a film in a drama or something like that. He may be in it, but he'd be like the best friend or, the coworker, whatever the case is. He might see himself that way. I'm not sure if he has any aspirations to elevate himself beyond that. It can be very difficult when you are so identified with a particular character that's started to enter into the pop culture. It can be difficult to get out of that. I don't know what his desires are. I really don't know. But certainly he is playing a lot of those kinds of characters at the moment. But that's good. It's work. It's work, right? But yeah, Lauren Lavera, I think is really good. I think she's the best thing in both these movies. But again, I'm not the target demographic, right? So I don't hate them. I don't loathe them. I can watch them and appreciate them for what they are relative to the subgenre that they are all about. And that subgenre has a lot of fans. It's like this punk rock of horror, the gratuitous gore and blood and splatter and wild, crazy 70s style shit, right? Not something I will watch again, but I watch it through that lens, because it would be stupid of me to watch it through the lens of the kind of horror that I like. Why would I do that? That doesn't make any sense. So I have to watch it through the lens of that kind of horror. And they're very successful, and they're good, like for that. And so, but the shelf life in terms of where you go with Terrifier 4, in terms of the identity, I don't know. Cause for me, it peaked in 3. And I also felt too, which is strange. I don't know if anybody else felt this. And I say it's strange because Art the Clown is on screen and he does kill people on his own. But I almost felt like there were moments where Art the Clown was sort of overshadowed by his sidekick there. I forget her name now, the one with the weird face and, the whole thing. There were moments where I didn't really care about, but maybe that's, again, because I'm not heavily invested in the mythology and the lore that Leon has created. That's entirely possible. But I just remember thinking, I don't think we need her. I think you can just I think Art is and his look and his presence are strong enough that you don't need like a buddy cop thing here happening at the end. It kind of felt, like that. The film felt smaller as well. Shout out to Darren from The Slaughtered Lamb who mentioned that. It does feel a bit smaller in scale. And I think one of the big reasons for that is because even though they had a bigger budget, 2.5 mil, something like that, it felt smaller. And I think the large reason for that is because they were trying to get back to more of the horror of Terrifier, whereas Terrifier 2 felt bigger because you had quite a few different set pieces and you almost switched genres right in the middle. And so your horror and then your horror fantasy and then your horror sci-fi fantasy, and then, which I'm not saying it didn't work, but that helped to give it scope and scale. Terrifier 2, whereas Terrifier 3 kind of went back to the roots of just horror, so it didn't feel as grand. and as a spectacle. So it kind of had that feel to it, which isn't necessarily a negative. Just an observation. So it's, look, I mean, I'm glad they exist because I think it's good for horror. It's good for independent horror and indie filmmakers like myself. I think it's good. But I think if you were to ask me, has Terrifier hit its peak? For me, it has. Like what it's all about. If the story was stronger and maybe more involved from the beginning, then the story might be able to carry it even further. But I don't know. I mean, this franchise is blood, guts, and gore. And now that we've seen as much as we have in 3, I don't know where you go outside of killing children on screen this time. Not suggesting it, not showing the aftermath, but seeing little Johnny get his head ripped off and his guts spilled. And nobody wants to see that. I mean, that's going to be like, I mean, I don't know. Maybe he's going to do it. I have no idea. But so anyways, folks, those are my thoughts on Terrifier 3. My general thoughts on it. Again, it's not a review of the movie. I don't do movie reviews here on the channel. But just to give you sort of my overall thoughts on what I thought of it. It was hugely successful, nearly $100 million at the box office. I think a big reason for that is that shtick and that hook. We'll see how Terrifier 4 does. And whether or not the people that were tricked to going to see 3 or had never seen a Terrifier film and 3 was their first one, whether it gets repeat business. There are some in the horror community that feel that Terrifier 4 is going to be even bigger than Terrifier 3. It's going to make $150 million at the box office. And it could. It very well might. But it wouldn't surprise me. It wouldn't surprise me, at the very least, if it made less than Terrifier 3. I don't mean like $10 million. I just mean like maybe it makes $74 million or $68 million. It wouldn't surprise me if it made a little bit less, because maybe, some of those people that went to see it, this was their first experience and they're like, yeah, I'm good. I don't need to see another one. You know what I mean? And how much repeat business is that going to get? Is it all Terrifier fans that, is that 100 million? Or is it Terrifier fans and those who were curious, people bringing their parents and tricking them into thinking it's a holiday love story? Because that really did happen. And so, I am curious to see how well it does. Wouldn't surprise me if it made more, but it would not surprise me at all if it made less. And again, I don't mean significantly less. I just mean, it's diminishing returns at this point. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. Certainly, the marketing is going to play a big role in that and see how it goes. Anyways, folks, listen, if you're watching after the fact, jump into the comment section and let me know your thoughts on Terrifier 3, the Terrifier franchise, and what I had to say here today about Terrifier. Do you agree with me? Do you not agree with me? How did you feel about Terrifier 3 and your thoughts on the franchise moving forward? Jump into the comment section and let me know your thoughts. Let's jump over to the chat room now and see what all of you are saying. It's great to see you all here. Let's see. Let me go over to the other screen here. I believe we had some member chats come in, a couple of super chats come in. Let's see what's going on. We've got Devin Reese. Says, hey, Dave, excited to actually be here for once. Wanted to get your thoughts on the slasher subgenre right now. Do you think the subgenre will ever hit the heights of the 1980s? Thanks. Well, in short, no. And the reason for that is because horror is cyclical in the sense that it's it never really goes away. It always kind of, it'll kind of maybe, be on a low kind of simmer, and then it comes back with a couple of big horror films. But the slasher subgenre in particular, we have to remember that when Freddy and Michael and Jason and Pinhead and Chucky, that was not that other types of horror didn't exist, but the slasher subgenre at that time, certainly in its peak between 78 and 85, was, nobody had seen anything like it. I mean, that was the golden age of slashers. And when you say the golden age, you mean that's basically its inception. That was its heyday. And well, now we've been there, done that. And slasher movies today that seem to do real well at the box office Terrifier aside, because I don't, because there's a shtick to that, there's a gimmick to that, and I don't classify it as a slasher personally. Outside of, just like, it's not like Thanksgiving tore it up at the box office, right? But Halloween did, but that's name recognition. That's brand recognition. If they were to make another Friday the 13th movie, at least that first film would probably do very, very, very well. Probably make way more than Thanksgiving ever did. Riding on the coattails of brand recognition, name recognition, right? Same with, A Nightmare on Elm Street. Same with, so creating a new slasher villain today is very difficult. And that's why I say, people often say, what about Art the Clown? I say, but hang on a sec. It's not like Art the Clown is in a regular slasher movie that's just rated R, where you see a bit of blood, but they cut away before it gets juicy. That's not the movies he's in. And so we cannot, despite what your thoughts are, we cannot deny the significant impact of the unrated nature of the Terrifier films and the gratuitous splatter, blood, guts, and gore that is ultimately the identity of those movies. We cannot pretend that that's not a big hook and that's not a big part of it. And that's why I say, if Art the Clown was in a regular rate, like if Thanksgiving was Art the Clown, is Art the Clown enough? Right? Is the story enough? I don't know. I think there's at least enough circumstantial evidence to say no. And so I don't think Art the Clown and Terrifier is the example that slashers are running strong and everything's fine. No. They had to make it unrated. They had to go to extreme lengths beyond anything most of us have ever seen just in a regular movie theater to make it work. And so I don't think if you just release regular slash, especially if that becomes the norm, if they release Silent Night, Deadly Night as unrated, and then they start, if this becomes a trend where now studios are getting on board with these unrated, gratuitous splatter films, you try to release a regular Friday the 13th that isn't unrated, and people are going to be like, what the fuck's this shit? Yeah, you know what I mean? Or A Nightmare on Elm Street. And then you could say, well, then you make those unrated. It's like, well, I guess you could, but then is that really the identity of, And so it's a tricky thing. And so I don't think we will ever see it the same way. Horror's changing, it's cyclical, but the slasher subgenre in particular has evolved and it's continuing to evolve. And I don't think we're going to see it in the same ways that we saw it before. Josh Stevens, what's going on, Josh? My man says, Dave, I'm from Seattle. Thank you for not wearing a Toronto's Blue Jays hat today. Oh, that's right. I'm so sorry, man. I thought you would be, and I was going to cuss at you. Well, you can still do it. Go, Jays, go. Go, Jays. Come on. Come on. Cheer for the Jays. Cheer for the Jays. Everybody, all the Yankee fans, all the Mariners fans, you should be cheering for the Jays. Because it's the American League. We're about to, come on. You don't want to cheer for the Dodgers? Or maybe you do. I don't know. You're on that side of the continent. I don't know. That's funny, man. Yeah. Go Jays, go. Josh McKenna sends in $9.99. Thank you, Josh. And says, was there anything about the UK that surprised you about the culture, food, and accents, etc.? Great question, Josh. So I will say this. So yeah, it was my first time in the UK a couple of weeks ago. And I had a great time, as I said off the top of the show today. I will say that there wasn't anything in terms of culture that surprised me. And I said this to Darren and his wife Zoe. Shout out to Zoe as well, who's just lovely, absolutely fantastic. One of the things that it didn't, the culture didn't surprise me. And one of the main reasons for that, I think, is because the culture of the United Kingdom and England, let's not forget that, Canada is also part of the Commonwealth, right? And we are a former British colony. And so there's a lot of British history with Canada. So I'm very, my mother was born in England, right? So I'm very attuned to England and the English and Great Britain. And so I'm very familiar with it that way. Also, England and Great Britain and the UK is very much in pop culture. I mean, there's so many movies, there's so many shows, there's so many pictures and photographs, and so when I stepped off the plane and I arrived in London, walking around, it was very cool. It was really cool because it's like, wow, I'm in England. I can tell I'm in England because the cars look different. Everybody's driving on the opposite side of the road. There were a number of times where I thought cars were driving by themselves. And I'm like, oh shit, no, right. The driver's on the other side. It was really creepy. But it wasn't like, it just kind of was like a movie come to life. It was like, yeah, I've seen this many times in photographs and movies and, television shows. And, so it didn't shock me, the environment and the culture. It was just like, yeah, oh yeah, here we are. This is London. This is England. But that didn't make it any less fucking cool. It was really, really cool to see it in person. It was really, really awesome. And so thank you again to Darren for being my quick tour guide on my arrival. It was really, 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 really cool. And there's still a bunch of photos that I want to post, but I haven't yet. And I got my photo taken with two, it's such a tourist thing to do, with two police officers, two London police officers, two female London police officers, right outside of where the Prime Minister's residence was. And I walked up to them and I said, do you mind if I get a photo? Because, they're just cops, but they're dressed a bit differently with the little hats. And, it looks very European to me, right? Whereas cops here in Canada look very much like how most North American cops look. Most cops here in Canada look exactly like they do in the US. And so, so it was really cool. And they're like, oh yeah, sure. And the one girl was like, oh, and I'm like, well, I can let you look at the photo afterwards so you can approve it. You know what I mean? And I think that broke the ice. Like, she was like, no, it's okay. It's cool. Lovely, lovely ladies. Cute too. But very, very nice. And so shout out to them if they ever see this. Thank you for letting me do that. That was awesome. And because it was kind of cool. You know what I mean? And so yeah, just really cool to be there. And food, I didn't necessarily eat any like specific English food. I don't think I did, but all the food I had was lovely and wonderful. Great stuff. But the one thing that did surprise me, and I knew this, but surprised me, is all the different accents. And at first I couldn't quite tell, do you know what I mean? Like they kind of all sounded like just English accent, which is just because I'm from North America, right? And so for most of us from North America, we just think of it as an English accent. Oh, no. There's like 9,721 English accents to varying degrees of nuance and subtleties and all that kind of stuff. And so very cool. And England, the UK, including Scotland, is you can fit the entire country in the province of Ontario here in Canada, like 3 or 4 times. It is incredible to me how many different accents there are in a relatively small geographical area. It is wild. It is wild. And I heard a bunch of them and I got a kick out of some of them. And there were a few people I met that I couldn't quite understand. And I had to kind of go, I'm sorry. There were some that were quite thick, some that were, obviously very easy to understand, but it was just cool. It was just cool to be able, and by my last day, like my last 2 days there, I was able to recognize the differences a bit more. So I have no doubt that if I spent more time there, a couple of weeks, I'd be able to pick up on it even more. But that I think was probably the coolest thing in terms of the difference I noticed, was really getting used to and realizing, and I always knew this, but seeing it in action, seeing it, in real time, that, well, hang on a sec, there isn't just an English accent, there's many different types of accents here to varying degrees. And sometimes you can get like an amalgamation of like 2 or 3 accents. And it's like, what the fuck is that? And nobody knows what that is. Even people in England are like, I don't know what the hell that is. And it's like, it's really cool. It's really cool. So very, 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 very cool indeed. I had a wonderful time. And, but yeah, no, the culture, there wasn't quite the culture shock, just simply because, again, being Canadian, we're very used to the British culture, and also it being so in the pop culture. It was just like a painting come to life. It was like a movie come to life. Like I just stepped into a movie and I'm like, wow, I'm in London. Yep, this is London. Yep, this is what you would expect. You know what I mean? So it was very cool in that regard. Matthew Farisi sends in $9.99 and says, "Hey Dave, checking in from Halloween Horror Nights. Entering soon. Hope you are doing well." Matthew Farisi checking in from Halloween Horror Nights. Entering soon. Oh, Halloween, like at Universal or something. Cool. Thanks, man. I was like, how? What is that? Have a good time, man. I think that's what you're talking about. Have a good time. Awesome. Let me see. Okay, then we got The Bad Case sends in $4.99 and says, "Hey Dave, have you seen The Black Phone 2 yet? I would love to hear your thoughts. I quite enjoyed it and love the mood and atmosphere." I have not seen The Black Phone 2 yet. I likely won't get out to see it in the theater. It'll probably be a streaming thing. The Black Phone 1 was a streaming thing for me. But I kind of hear just neutral. I hear it's good. I've heard it's okay. I've heard kind of, I don't think it's doing as well as the first one did. I don't think. But yeah. But I will get around to it. I'll get around to it. Let me see here. Okay, we got Josh McKenna, another $1.99. Thank you. Says, "I don't want to see a child bedroom scene." Well, no, I don't think anybody wants to see a child bedroom scene, right? But, outside of something we haven't seen before, like he can make it gorier. He could put 5 or 6 chainsaw shower scenes in Terrifier 4. But that doesn't make it more violent. It doesn't make it more shocking. It's just more of what we've already seen, right? And so that's kind of, and Damien knows this, that's sort of the question here is, what can I do that is part of the Terrifier brand, but is also something that is something they've never seen? I'm going to make it gorier and bloodier, and we've got guts down like it's nobody's business. We know how to make blood, guts, and gore, and arms severed, and blood going, and really focusing on it, and, teeth being pulled. They know how to do that. But once, I've seen it once, seen it twice, it loses its impact. So that's what I mean by outside of killing children on screen, what else would be truly terrifying, truly shocking? Not just more blood, guts, and gore. But I don't know. Maybe he's got something up his sleeve. I'm not sure. Let me see. Let me see here. Gray Simo? "I get the whole accent thing, Dave. Beyond New York, Texas, California, and the Deep South, I struggle to decipher American accents. We have so many over here in such a small space. It's quite unique." It's true. Oh, it's true. It's very cool. And it just, that was, and I did pick up on it. Like I would meet somebody who would be, I don't know. I don't know. Like I can't do it. So I don't know how to, but in my ears, maybe a little more nasally, and I don't mean that as a bad thing, but just kind of like it's coming from maybe, like more like, and then there's somebody else that's maybe not quite like that, and maybe, but I'm learning there's like a Liverpool accent, and there's a London accent, and then there's a Northern accent, and there's this and this and this accent, but then there's this accent, but that's that accent. Oh no, but that's from the small town of such and such accent. Oh no, then you got this accent, that. I'm like, oh my God, it's wild. And the crazy thing is, they are all different. To the person who's never heard it before, again, it might be like, oh, they kind of sound, unless it's very different. But like Welsh, I think it's the Welsh one that I was having trouble deciphering. I think. I can't remember. I met 2 wonderful people that they had very thick accents, and I remember thinking, oh my God, I don't know what they're saying. But it's very cool. I'd agree. It was very cool. A wonderful learning experience, and it was really awesome. Let me see here. Brandon Collins says, did you eat your meat? I've been told that if you don't eat your meat, you can't have any pudding. I had so many burgers, delicious burgers too. I had like 4 burgers, I think, while I was there. Something like that. Something like that. Yeah. No, I didn't have any pudding. No Yorkshire pudding. Okay, have I got the super chats? Have I got the member chats? I just want to make sure I'm not missing anything here, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, we do have a couple of member chats that came in. Alex Shambach says, Dave, have you heard about Catherine Cochran and how she claims she has not been properly compensated for Terrifier? Her kill is certainly haunting and took guts to film. What are your thoughts? Great question. So I haven't divulged too deeply into the claim. I will just say this. I see a lot of people sort of calling her, saying that it's bullshit. And I will say to you that it likely isn't bullshit. Now, that doesn't mean that she's going to get what she wants. But the first Terrifier film, and I'm speaking, the things I'm about to say are not, I'm speaking from a place of being informed on how these things go. Unlike Terrifier 3, which was a full-scale union shoot, and I remember hearing Damien Leone talk about how, you know, when he had the children on during the Santa Claus scene, oh, we have to have the children on a certain amount of hours, and we can't do those. There's a lot of rules. When you are doing a full-scale union shoot, whether it's SAG-AFTRA or ACTRA here in Canada, or a combination of both, there are rules and regulations that you legally have to follow. And when it's a full-scale union shoot, like, I mean, everybody's union, from, you know, the crew to the cast to the, you know, you have to, I mean, there are rules of when you can shoot. There's overtime. There's, you know, if you have children on set, there's rules of when they can be on set, hours of when they can work. There's a lot of, it's a whole different ballgame. When you are shooting a non-union film, which I believe the first Terrifier was, now that doesn't mean you can't have a union actor, but if you have a union actor on a largely non-union shoot, that can cause problems. There are things that SAG-AFTRA, that there might be some overlap that it doesn't cover, which is why unions say don't work on non-union shoots, even though some SAG actors and actors, if they can get away with it, sometimes they will. Especially if they know the people and it's, you know, a professional set, you know, and things like that. It's Me, Billy Chapter 1 was a non-union shoot, but it was a professional set through and through. It's Me, Billy Chapter 2 was a full-scale union shoot. Very different ballgame. But just as professional as Chapter 1. So Terrifier, I believe, was a non-union shoot for the most part. And so that can be very tricky. You know, whether she had it in writing, whether it was a verbal agreement, whether it was something that it is true that if you are a union and you are doing nude scenes, that has to be, like, the union has to be aware of that. But here's the problem. Here's the thing. When you are shooting a non-union film, especially a film like Terrifier, and I say this with all due respect, because of the nature of the movie, in terms of the content, there's a lot of guerrilla filmmaking that goes on. And there's a lot of sort of, let's just get this done. There's a lot of, like, you know, crew and cast working 15, 16 hours for no more extra pay. You can't do that on a union shoot. As soon as you're past 12 hours, you're in overtime, baby. And crew and cast are making overtime. You know, there's night premiums. If you're shooting all at night, cast and crew will get night premiums, right? Or can, at the very least. Which is more money, you know? Oh, so I have to shoot for now 2 weeks. It's all night shoots. Yeah. Well, that's more. Cha-ching! You know, but on a non-union shoot, you don't have to worry about that. Oh, come on. We're just a bunch of indie guys, filmmakers, just making this together. We're gonna, you know, we're not going to have any sleep. We're not going to do this. We're not going to do that. Oh, fuck it. Oh, the environment might not be as safe as, but don't worry about it. Let's just get it done. Let's just get it done. Because there's no, there's nobody to answer to. And a lot of great movies have been made that way. But it can be very tricky. And again, I'm speaking from a place, I don't know the facts or the details. I briefly did read the article, but I didn't read it in great detail. I just read it enough to get the idea of what's happening. And she could very well be right. It wouldn't surprise me. Was it something that they said just to get her through it, to do it? Being upside down like that for long periods of time. Yeah, you wouldn't be able to get away with that. There'd be too much oversight. I mean, you'd still be able to do it, but there would be a lot of oversight. There'd be breaks. You'd have to take breaks at certain intervals and certain times. And there are rules in place for this kind of thing. And on a non-union shoot with no oversight and people just trying to get shit done, you know what I mean? And she probably didn't want to, she was thankful for the role, thankful for the job. She wanted to, it's not like she was this A-list star, but what was the contract? That's what I want to know. What was the contract? Look at the Blair Witch, right? Look at the people that had to fight for what they were about to go through, right? That they were non-union. I stand to be corrected. I don't know if Blair Witch was SAG. I don't think it was. It might have been, but I'm not sure. But I can tell you right now, none of those actors, I don't even think they had agents. There was nobody negotiating on their behalf. Does Catherine have an agent? Did she have an agent? I mean, let's put the union side away for a second. Did she have an agent who was working on her behalf? Maybe not, right? I mean, she took the lowest possible rate, which was like $100 a day or something like that. And when you're making a film, rates for actors, scale will often be determined by the budget of your movie. So scale isn't the same for every budget. You know what I mean? And so if the budget was like 35, 40 grand, yeah, the scale, I don't know what the SAG-AFTRA scale was for an ultra low budget film like that in 2016 or 2015. I'm not sure, but it may have been $100 a day. I'm not sure. Again, these are like the information that is being written about in these articles. As somebody who knows all about this, it makes sense. Like there isn't anything where I've gone, well, that doesn't fucking make sense. It makes sense. Like the verbiage that's being used makes sense. The question now becomes, was it written? Is there any proof of this? Is there anything written down about this? Or was it just a handshake and a verbal agreement? Is there she may be shit out of luck. I'm not entirely sure. You could say that, well, she just came out afterwards because it's a huge success. Sure, but she wouldn't be the first to do it. So did the Blair Witch people. So did they. You think if they never made another Blair Witch film again, that the actors in the Blair Witch would be complaining like they did a year ago? No, they wouldn't do that. Of course, when something is, I'm not comparing the two. It's not apples to apples exactly, but the principles are the same. So, it could have been like, well, hang on a sec. I had that agreement with, Damien, and we even signed this little thing. I'm pretty sure I've got that somewhere. I even told SAG about it at the time. They said all this, and now this thing's a $100 million franchise. And hang on a sec. Yeah, of course. Is she kind of making a bit of a, sure. Wouldn't you? I would. Anybody would if you're legitimately being, hang on a sec. If you're lying full stop, you're just making it all up. And everything Catherine says is bullshit. No, she just made everything up. It's 100% bullshit. 100%. She's just pissed off because, I don't know, Damien wouldn't give her another role or something. There's that side, which does happen. But if it is true, and like I said, reading the article, and I've signed a lot of contracts in my life and dealt with unions as an actor and as a producer. I'm looking at this, I go, it could be true. Like the verbiage is correct. The circumstances sound plausible, and so is it all true, 100% true, half true? I don't know. But I'm going to follow it closely and curiously because it's interesting. But that is the problem sometime when you are working on low budget, non-union, everybody's just working all hours of the day and fuck safety. Who cares about health and safety? We just got to get it done, man. We just got to get it done. And listen, I've been there. I get it. But you better make sure there's some sort of written agreement. Listen, It's Me, Billy Chapter 1 was a non-union shoot. But as producers, Bruce and I had contracts for everybody, for the talent and for the crew. Everything was in written form. There was no union making sure that that happened, but we had it all there. And their agents, their reps appreciated that. Now with Chapter 2, it was a full-scale union shoot, so that was completely different. We had to. But we did that to cover our asses as producers. And you have to be covered. So this kind of thing, I mean, now we can't make money from the Billy films, obviously, because they're tribute films that we don't own the IP to, but the principle is the same, right? If you're making something that you hope to make money with, you got to cover your ass. Non-union or not, you got to, in my opinion, non-union shoots, as best as you can, to the best of your abilities as a producer, should be handled as if it's union, right? Walk in there and handle it like it's union. Cover your asses, have your contracts, get your things signed. Everybody knows exactly what's going on. It's written down. There's email trails. Everybody knows. I've got folders in my email. It's Me, Billy Chapter 1. Tons of emails with cast, crew, all that kind of stuff. You know what I'm saying? So if anything ever happened, I mean, it's not going to, but I'm just saying, you know what I mean, right? It's the principle, right? If anything ever did, I'm all, hang on a second. You know what I'm saying? As producers, you've got to do that. And so I know non-union shoots, we just got to get this done. I get it. Everybody's banding together and we're all a family and we're all a team and you're making movies. And that's true. But, you know, it's important, especially when you're the producer, that you can cover your ass. Now, is Catherine lying through her teeth and this is all made up? Maybe it is. I don't know. But I think there's some truth to it. I think there probably is some truth to it. Does she have a case, though? That's the question. Does she have a case? And is there proof? Is there enough proof that we'll be able to show that she has enough of a case that maybe she won't get what she thinks she's owed? Maybe they'll settle. I don't know. I mean, I have no idea. You know, did Damien make the same, promise to the other actors in part 1? I don't know. I have no idea. So it's interesting. I will watch it curiously. But I will just say that, yeah, no matter if you're doing a union, well, if you're doing a union shoot, you have to, but if you're doing a non-union shoot, you play it, you produce that film like it's union. You know what I mean? Health and safety protocols, insurance. Insurance is a big one. It's Me, Billy Chapter 1, non-union shoot. We still had production insurance in case anything happened. Somebody fell. We're shooting in a home that isn't ours. If we break something, it's covered. The camera gear, everything is covered by insurance. It's smart to do that, even on non-union shoots. And I know not everybody can afford that, depending on how much you raise for your film. I get it. And most people sacrifice health and safety. They sacrifice insurance. They sacrifice the well-being of their actors and crew for effects or, for all that kind of stuff. And I don't think you should do that. A well taken care of cast and crew, a well fed cast and crew, a well accommodated in terms of accommodations. I don't mean the Hilton. I just mean, something that is nice, can go a long way. When your cast and crew feels taken care of and feels respected, they're going to go that extra mile. If it's a non-union shoot and your cast and crew feels respected, like, wow, we're well fed, we're taken care of, there's health and safety protocols, there's insurance. Wow. Hey, you know what? 12 hours turns into 14. They're going to want to work for you. They're going to go, don't worry about it, man. Let's fucking do it. Let's do it. Because they're jazzed, because everybody's well taken care of. But the second that, the set feels, there's a nail on the floor that somebody could step on, there's, all this kind of shit. And people are like, ugh. Like, come on, you got to work 17 hours. Come on. People are like, especially when you're making $100 a day. So, yeah, anyways, those are my just sort of general thoughts, but I think they're at the very least informed, and we'll see what happens with what happens here with Catherine Cochran, I guess her name is. If it's all true, if it's 100% all true, and there is, Damien isn't following through, well, then he's got to pay up. If she can prove it, If it's written down, if it's not written down and it was just kind of some kind of, Catherine, listen, I'll give you 1% of the grosses for the entire, franchise if it's successful. Just hang upside down, please. Just hang upside down nude. I'll just do that. And she's like, oh, okay. And it was just verbal like that in the moment to get her to do something. Well, then, it's he said, she said at that point. But if there is something that's written down, something anywhere, bust that out, man. Bust that out. Anyways, those are my thoughts. Let me see. Oh, did I miss any other? Colin Murdy! What's going on, Colin Murdy? Yes, there he is, Colin Murdy. Love it. Colin is a great, folks, you have your own channel now, right, Colin? I think you do. At least you're starting to get that done. Feel free to pop that into the chat, Colin, and get people to go over and subscribe to Colin Murdy's channel. Let me see. Daz says, yeah, that was pretty standard in the 70s and 80s. Would hope it's different now, but guess not. Well, it's true. It's true. But it also depends on the budget. Right? It depends on the scope of production. Did even studio productions 40 years ago, 50 years ago, get away with a bit more? Sure. Yes, absolutely. There was a lot more, misogyny going on. There was a lot more, going on, even at the studio level. But even back then, there were still rules and regulations in place and safety protocols and insurance and all for actors and crew. Right? Even back then there was. So I'm not saying that listen, it depends what you can afford. I'm not saying every union or every non-union shoot, can afford to do this. But if you are a non-union shoot of considerable scale, you're shooting for 2 weeks. If you're shooting for a day, don't worry about it. You know what I mean? But if you're shooting for 2 weeks in multiple locations and your budget's $50,000 and you're shooting in old warehouses or, whatever, you might want to think about having some production insurance. Because all it's going to take is you don't want your actor to step off something, break their ankle. Now you're fucked because your actor's ankle is broken, so that halts your shoot. But now you're also fucked because your actor, if they wanted to, could be like, well, where's health and safety? Like, what's going on? Like, that was, what the fuck? It's protecting everybody. It's protecting the actors. It's protecting the crew. It's protecting you as a production company or as a producer. It's so important. It's so important. 100%. 100%. And you hope you don't have to use it, of course, but if for whatever reason, something broke in the house where we shot It's Me, Billy, we're covered. That's not our house. That's not our stuff. This isn't our camera gear. You have to have that kind of insurance, right? Like I said, our camera package between, the lenses and the body and the support gear for the camera and the batteries and all this, our camera package alone, everything that went into the camera package alone, its replacement value was nearly $1 million. Just the replacement value on the camera package. Everything that goes with the camera package, the body, the lenses, the camera support, the rigs, the batteries, the antenna, monitors, everything. You got to insure that shit, man. You know what happens? So it's really important to be covered. And again, I don't know the interworkings and the logistics of the first Terrifier film. And what was covered and what wasn't. Maybe they did have production insurance. Maybe they did cover health and safety, all that kind of stuff. But knowing what I do know about that first movie, being that it was like a $40,000 movie, guerrilla kind of filmmaking, small kind of thing, we're just buddies making movies. And there's nothing wrong with that. But if you're hiring actors, even if they're your friends, but if you're hiring actors and you're paying them, you got to take care of them. And if somebody feels uncomfortable, if somebody feels awkward, if somebody doesn't feel comfortable about whatever it is, you want to make sure your actors feel like they can speak up, like they can go to you. Usually on set, there is somebody that, if it isn't usually the director, there's usually a impartial person on set that if there is something feels awkward or whatever the case is, or strange or whatever, they can go to that individual. But on our sets, we said to everybody, cast and crew, we said, if anybody feels uncomfortable about anything, about doing something, about this scene, about saying these, whatever the case is, please speak up. Let's talk about it. Let's discuss it. You know what I mean? And nobody ever did, but everybody was great because nobody had an issue. But that's the kind of relationship you want to have with your actors and with your crew. It's incredibly important. But yeah, shooting low budget, guerrilla style, Terrifier, gritty, blood, guts, gore, kind of just shooting by the hip. That's what Blair Witch was too, right? It wasn't a gore fest like Terrifier, but same kind of thing. $15,000, just take these cameras, go out there and do that kind of stuff. I mean, what if What's-Her-Face had broken her ankle out there? What if they had been out there and they were running with the camera and somebody slipped and fell and hit their head? Like, did they have production insurance? Did they have insurance to cover that? I don't know. You know what I mean? Like it's probably not, and I'm not saying that, again, not every film can afford to do it. I get that. But I've learned a lot, in my life and certainly, shooting the 2 films I did and the films I hope to obviously make in the future, House on Port Robinson Road, that, you got to have as a producer, you have to have your ass covered, man. You do. And so we'll see what happens. If she's telling the truth, the whole truth and nothing but the truth, I hope she wins. I do. I just don't know if she'll be able to prove it. Carl Weidman sends $5. Thank you, Carl. Says Terrifier 5, Art versus Pennywise. Also, I sent a membership chat. Oh, thank you, Carl. Yes, let me take a look at that. Thank you, Carl. You did. Yes. You said, hi, Dave. Glad to see you're okay. I was concerned when I didn't see anything from you for about 2 weeks. Did you close your campaign? No, I did not close my campaign. No, the campaign is open, but you know what? Indiegogo has completely revamped their entire site. It looks completely different, and In Demand is still a thing, but it's no longer called In Demand. It's called Late Pledge. I'm like, what? You know what? Indiegogo, I don't know if you ever see this. You probably won't care anyway. I really don't like the way it looks, and I don't like changing. Like, In Demand was cool because it's like in demand. It's hot. It's in demand. No, it's called Late Pledge now. They're trying to mirror it after some other company bought out Indiegogo now or something, and it's now trying to look like the other things they own or something. I don't know. I think there's like a sort of a uniform thing across. I don't know. Anyways, it'll take a bit to get used to. It's still there. The house on Port Robinson Road, the development campaign is still there. I still want to hit my first stretch goal, ladies and gentlemen, of 30,000 Canadian. So please click the link in the description. I'll pin one to the post here when we're done the show today as well. And pick up a perk as well. There's lots of cool shit there and help out the house on Port Robinson Road. Again, development funds, not production funds, but it's going to, as we move into the development stage and continue to move along here, it's really going to help. So I'd really appreciate that very much. But no, it's still there. You can pick up perks and it's in demand, but it's no longer called In Demand. It's called Late Pledge. And I'm like, it's in demand. You got to go back to that. Anyways, so it's still there. But yeah, Art versus Pennywise. Yeah, that might be what they do. That might be what they do. I mean, you never know. It might be what they do. That's what she said. Said Terrifier isn't my thing. I like scary, not gory. Art is kind of funny though. His facial expressions, his body language are hilarious. Yeah, I think what David Howard Thornton does with Art the Clown is, I think he does a great job. I think I can understand, I can intellectualize and understand the appeal of Art the Clown. But I stand by that. I don't think it's an automatic lock. I think had the Terrifier films been regular slashers, I don't know if Art the Clown would be as popular, because it's not just Art the Clown that is what drawing people in. It's the gratuitous violence, blood, guts, and gore. And so, like I said at the top of the show, how much more can you do of that? I mean, already people are, and I think it's peaked. I think it's peaked. I didn't hate Terrifier 3, but as I was watching it, I was like, yeah, I'm not really shocked by this anymore. It's now, the hook has now peaked for me. So what he does with 4, I don't know, but I think Damien Leone is a smart guy, and I think he knows, whether he comes back to the franchise or not, I don't know, but I think he knows that this thing has a shelf life. You can't, how many different ways can you slice up somebody, right? William Long sends in $4.99. Thank you, William. Says, hey, Dave, was Chris Stuckman's journey from YouTuber to Shelby Oaks inspiring at all to you in regards to your own goals to the house on Port Robinson Road? The short answer is no. The longer answer is so for me, I didn't start out as a YouTuber. I don't really see myself as a YouTuber, even though you guys do, because that's how you see me. I've worked in the entertainment industry for 25 years. And so I started out as an on-camera actor, voice actor. That's my job. That's what I really do. I went to film school back in the late 90s. Always wanted to be a filmmaker, of course, and then started to take it seriously when I turned 46 years ago. And so the house on Port Robinson Road is something that has always been on my radar probably since Chris Stuckman was like 10 years old. You know what I mean? And so, because I think I'm about 10 years older than him. And so, in terms of that, like I've never really, it's always been there. It wasn't something that, like, whether I was on YouTube or not, I would be, Now, what is interesting about his journey is how he was able to leverage his community in the same ways that I leveraged. And by the way, we did it before he did it. Just saying. In 2020, we leveraged the horror community here for It's Me Billy Chapter 1 and ended up raising 64,000 Canadian dollars, nearly 50,000 US. Absolutely amazing. And so, and then somewhere in 2022 or 3 or 22 maybe, of course, he, not because of me, he doesn't know who the hell I am, but because of his community as well and his reach, he's got 2 million subscribers. His reach is massive, absolutely massive. So it was very smart. He had this idea he's wanted to do for a long time. He leveraged the community, raised over $1 million on Kickstarter. A production company stepped in, helped with some more money. Neon stepped in, helped with a little bit more money. And he was able to make a project that he's always wanted to make. Now, I don't know if his project is something he's wanted to make since he was, since the year 2000. I don't know if it's that long or if it's something he's just come up with in the last 10 years or so. I'm not sure. But what is inspiring is not necessarily his specific journey, because there aren't as many parallels as you might think. On the surface, you see YouTuber, filmmaker. You see me as a YouTuber. I don't see myself as that. Even though that's, I guess, in this world, that's what I would be. But I see myself more as just somebody who has a hobby on YouTube, or, it's just kind of, it's just more how I see it, because I'm on this side of the camera. So to me, it isn't the same kind of thing. But what is interesting is how you are seeing more people leveraging their reach, like the, what is it, Raka guys? I don't know what their names are. The guys that did Talk to Me, Bring Her Back. They started on YouTube as well. But again, the difference between Stuckman and those guys and me is that they have millions of subscribers. They are, like I'm the country of Iceland and they're like, China, you know what I mean? In terms of like, population, right? It's like, there's just no, like, I don't stand it. But at the same time, it is unbelievably amazing how even the small community of 30,000 subscribers here, how we were able to raise across 2 short films, 220,000 Canadian dollars, about 170,000 US. That's nothing to sneeze at, folks. There are people that make feature films for that, right? Now, depending on what that is, that's not a lot of money, depending on what your film is. But so that's really cool. And if I had like 1 million subscribers, I might be able to fund at least some of the house on Port Robinson Road, maybe all of it, depending on who gets on board. And so because the Kickstarter with Stuckman had that reach, and he has that reach, it took notice, right? It spread. And then people in the industry took notice of that. I'm too small. I think what we were able to do was incredible, and the principles are the same, especially for a Black Christmas fan and tribute film. Black Christmas ain't Freddy, ain't Jason, ain't Michael, right? It's not one of the big three or big four. And so for us to do that is a testament to all of us, and to all of you guys as well, that we were able to do that and achieve that. People have often said, well, why don't you just do the same thing for the house on Port Robinson Road? The problem is that the house on Port Robinson Road is a much larger endeavor. It's a feature film that will likely, in my preliminary estimation, cost a few $1 million. Preliminary estimates. That's not something that somebody with 30,000 subscribers can crowdfund. That might be something Chris Stuckman can do. That might be something the Raka Raka guys can do. Now, they don't need to do that anymore because they've made 2 studio films and they don't need to crowdfund anything anymore. And Stuckman may no longer need to do that anymore either. But it's not something that I can do because my channel, my reach is just not big enough. And so that's why I chose to do a development fund. And the house on Port Robinson Road isn't in the zeitgeist yet, right? People don't know. If you don't have a following, then what you're crowdfunding better be like really, you know what I mean? If you have a huge following, you can crowdfund something that maybe isn't in the zeitgeist yet because there are just so many people that want to see you do it. And so there are parallels, definitely, but there are big differences in terms of reach. I could not raise, with the following I currently have, unless there's somebody out there who's watching, who's an investor, who's a producer, who's wanting to get on board and step up with $500,000, you know, unless there's an individual or individuals or a company that is watching me, that's different. But crowdfunding, it's unlikely I will be able to do it, which is why, again, like I said, I turn to development. Because raising 30, 40, 50,000 of development money will be great. And that's something I believe I can do with the size of the community that I have and what I've been able to leverage so far. Even though the house on Port Robinson Road isn't, you know, a slasher movie, and it isn't something that has like a sexy antagonist. I mean, sexy in terms of it being like an Art the Clown or a Michael Myers, you know, something that's really attractive. It doesn't have an antagonist like that, right? A villain that people can really get behind. And so it's a lot trickier. It's really, really tricky. I believe in the story. I think it's something truly that hasn't quite been seen this way in the horror community in terms of the marrying of 2 or 3 different subgenres. And I'm very excited about it. It means a lot to me. It's scary. I believe, of course, I'm biased, but I believe it's scary and frightening and full of that Dave McCrae classic mood and atmosphere. But I also believe it's got something to say, and it's moving as well, I believe. And, it's got heart to it too. And so very proud of it. Like I said, the script is done. The lookbook is done. We're just trying to continue to raise money for development. We reached our base goal of 20,000, but I would really love to hit that second goal of 30,000. Would really love to hit that. The more money we raise for development will only help better get us into a position where we can suddenly become attractive to investors, right? I might be able to bring a name on board. You know, there is one particular role in the film that I'm eyeing potentially. Maybe there's a name actor I can bring on board, right? You know what I mean? And then that will help draw eyeballs on. You know what I mean? The development stage is it's like a chess game. You know what I mean? A little bit of this, a little bit of that, a little bit of this, because right now nobody knows about it for all intents and purposes. And right now it doesn't have brand recognition, doesn't have name recognition. It just, so it's a bit tricky. So, and neither did Shelby Oaks, right? Shelby Oaks didn't either. But the difference is Chris Stuckman has 2 million subscribers. He raised like $750,000. What was it in like the first 2 days or something? I mean, that's not because people wanted to see Shelby Oaks. That's because people wanted to see Chris Stuckman make a horror movie. And that's the power of reach. That's the power of community. That's the power of, you know what I mean? And so, and many of you too were like, well, I don't particularly care about Black Christmas, but I want to see you make a Black Christmas sequel. And we were able to do it, right? But it was manageable, right? It was small. You know, the first campaign was $60,000. The next campaign was $120,000. We ended up raising over $220,000. And so it's a bit tricky. There are definitely parallels. I would say but there are distinct differences as well. So that's how I would answer that. Carl Weidman sends in $5, says, I didn't see where I could still get perks for the campaign unless I'm looking in the wrong area now. I know, it's fucking crazy. So let me, okay, so when you go to when you click on the, you know what, let me go over here and let me just go to the stream that I'm currently on and click on I'm going to, hang on a sec here, do this, go to my stream. Let me go to the thing. Let me click on the house on Port Robinson Road. Okay, it's going to bring it up. 1 second. Okay, all right. So you see this here. You're going to get to this page here. See how it looks so different now? House on Port Robinson Road, development funds. You're going to want to scroll down, and then you're going to see what we were able to raise so far for development, 22,967 Canadian. That'll be lower for you in the States. That's only going to be about 15,000 US. And then you see where it says back this project. Click on back this project. That's going to bring you to the page, right? That now it's going to probably start to look a little familiar, right? You see like the main page here, right? You know, with the poster and all that. Then scroll down to the bottom, the very bottom. It might look different on your phone as well. I'm on a desktop. It might look different on your phone. But if you scroll to the bottom, that's where, let me get me out of here. That's where you'll see, the perks. See that? You can see the perks there. So concept poster, see add to pledge. And that's where you want to go, is add to pledge. Because now we're in late pledge. And it's like, it sounds so stupid. Yeah, they've really revamped it, but it's all there, folks. It's still all there. T-shirts, you know, signed concept posters. The Bloodbath double feature is sold out, though. The mystery envelope, Port Robinson Road street sign, and of course, the November files are still there. Guys, I would love to sell more of these November files legacy. I would really love to sell more. $9.50 Canadian. That's going to be less for you in the US, even less for you in the UK. And of course, you get everything and all the perks that come with that. But yeah, it's still there. It's still there, but it's now called late pledge. So you got to click on it, like make a pledge or something, go in, find the perks. It's a bit tricky. I might have to do an actual video on how to do it. So my goal now is to reach 30,000 Canadian. I would really love to reach 30,000 Canadian. We're nearly at 23,000. So that's another 7,000, I guess. Would be really great. If we could reach 30,000, I also have a 60,000 stretch goal as well, but first things first, one step at a time. 30,000 would be really awesome. Feast your peepers, Colin Murdy. I really hope it gets off the ground for you, Dave. The Billy films were a superb blueprint for future endeavors. I reckon it could be a really interesting story with lashings of mood and atmosphere. Oh, Colin. Mr. Murdy. Mr. Murdy. Let me just put this here by this unusual looking foot. No, inside joke. Colin's laughing. Oh yeah, it's again, I'm a bit biased because it's inspired by true events from my second year of college. I wrote the screenplay. I'm going to direct the film. So obviously, and I'll probably be on, as a producer as well. But I'm very proud of it. And even looking at it as objectively as possible, I think, again, I'm playing it close to the vest at the moment just because of the stage that it's at. I have revealed quite a bit, funny enough. And of course, there's a synopsis on the campaign, but I'm playing it just close to the vest at the moment, just because we're in early development. You know what I mean? Maybe I'll do a member stream to my members and divulge a little more details, maybe. Ooh, I know, shameless plug to get more members. But hey, it's a good way to do it. It's a good way to do it. But I might do that. That might be kind of fun. But yeah, but I always do my best to look at things as objectively as possible. I will just say this. I wrote the kind of film that I love to watch. I wrote the kind of story that I love to watch, that my kind of horror movies. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's like seething with, there's a thunderstorm, there's mood and atmosphere. It's seething. It's slow burn. It's a slow burn film. It's a slow burn film. But there's a story there. It's not about chainsaws and demons and possession and it's quite layered but I'm very proud of it. And I hope, fingers crossed, that I'm going to do everything of course, I hope to have a career where I can make many features in my life. But if the universe suddenly said, Dave, you can only make one feature film in your entire life. Sorry, pal. Well, this would be it. This is my dream project, right? So this would be it. But of course, I hope to make other feature films as well. Cody the Zombie, what's going on? But a member for 23 months says, hey Dave, have you had the chance to watch Halloween Aftermath? Fan film 2 hours long. How did they get away with using the name and music? I have not had a chance to see Halloween Aftermath. I've heard good things about it. How did they get away with it? Well, they've gotten away with it in the same ways that, most people get away with doing fan films. The Halloween, we'll see how long it stays up there. Trancas and Malik tend to be the most hard on and most protective of their property, and it's within their right. Friday the 13th is pretty lenient, in terms of, there's so many Friday the 13th films. Black Christmas, I think we get away. Now, of course, we put up the disclaimer. We do not, literally, folks, and I can't speak on behalf of any other people who've made fan films, but I can tell you, and this is 100% truth, I swear, I'm not religious, so I will swear on the house on Port Robinson Road. So now I'm fucking serious. Bruce and I, literally in the purest definition of the word. I don't mean literally like how people say, oh my God, my head literally exploded. Well, no, it didn't, or you'd be dead. No, I mean literally, Bruce and I have made from the two Billy films, literally nothing. Literally. And as a matter of fact, we've even put in our own money to, compensate to some shortfallings here and there. And so, because legally we can't. And we took that very seriously. As producers, we cannot make money from the Blu-ray sales, from, both Billy films are not, they're not monetized. You will see on Billy 1, you will see, if you don't have YouTube Premium, you will see ads on Billy 1 if you're watching on YouTube. That's not going to me. That's because we creatively decided to use the same Silent Night that was used in the original Black Christmas that you hear at the beginning of the movie. We deliberately, and we knew that we would be dinged for this, but creatively, we just had to use it. We used that same Silent Night when Sam walks into the attic and the record player, it's the exact same Silent Night from the original Black Christmas from 1974. I said to Bruce, fans are going to love it. They're going to lose their minds. Black Christmas fans did and lost their minds. If you're not a Black Christmas fan, it probably went over your head. But if you're a Black Christmas fan, you're like, that's the exact same. And so when you watch Billy 1 on YouTube, if you don't have YouTube Premium, you will see ads. But that's not going to me. That's going to the rights holders to that song. Billy 2, you should see no ads because everything that we used, we own. And so there's no ads. It's not monetized at all. And because we take it seriously, we don't own the IP for this, so we can't make money. Now, you can't take Billy and upload it to your own YouTube channel. You can't do that. Because I actually had to, there was somebody that did that about a week or so ago, and I had to put in a claim, and I won. Because we still own the script, we still own the dialogue, we still own all the the sound design and the shots and all that kind. That is all original, and we still own all of that. So we don't own the intellectual property, but we own a lot of the creative aspects of the film. So you can't just take our movies and just upload them. You can't do that. And so I did it, and I won for those exact reasons. And it was shit. They had like, It's Me Billy 2025. I'm like, it's not 2025, it's 2021. It's Me Billy Chapter 2, 2026. And they've uploaded it to their own, the whole fucking thing. I'm like, what the hell are you doing? I don't want people going to your channel to watch it. I want people to come to my channel to watch it. Get out of here. Anyway, so that was annoying. But yeah, so I don't know where I was going with that, but we take it very seriously. Oh yeah, that's right. We're talking about Halloween Aftermath. So with Halloween Aftermath, I don't know who got paid, who didn't get paid. We can raise money to make the movie, of course. That means we can, rent the equipment, pay the actors, all that, insurance, production, all that kind of stuff. But we as producers, we can't make money from the movie. Like, now that the movie's out, we can't make any money from it. And we haven't. Literally nothing. Literally. And so that's another reason why Bruce and I have said, if we're going to continue to make movies and put that much time and effort and money into it from this moment forward, because again, the Billy films are fan films, sure, but they're professional productions from top to bottom, which is why they look and sound the way they do. And so if we're going to continue to do that, and work that hard, I think it's time that we reap the benefits of our work. And so now let's move on to original stuff where we can make money, where we can seek distribution, where we can, and that doesn't mean we're going to make boatloads of money off our first feature, but where those opportunities are there, right? Because, you can't just keep doing that at that level. It's too much work. It's too much effort when you're not getting paid. And so, but with Halloween Aftermath, I haven't seen it. I've heard good things about it. And shout out to the guys for getting it done and putting it up. We'll see how long it lasts. Of course, it's got triple the Billy views because obviously it's Halloween and Michael Myers, and naturally that's what's going to happen. But we'll see how long it lasts. I hope it stays up. I hope it does. I mean, they've worked hard, but Trancas is very finicky. But but the rights holders of Black Christmas, that's what the point I was trying to say. It's like, as far as I know, it's like an older guy who lives in California who doesn't really care much about it. You know what I mean? As far as I know. And so we're pretty safe with Black Christmas. But Trancas, I don't know if it's Malik specifically, but Trancas has dinged and taken down quite a few Halloween fan films as recently as a year or two ago. And fan films that don't particularly have high production value. They're just, you can tell it's a fan film. So, the higher production value, the more, and you're dealing with Halloween, the more you poke the bear. We'll see what happens. It wouldn't surprise me if it stayed up for a while, but it wouldn't surprise me if it suddenly was dinged with a notice. So we'll see. But I haven't seen it yet. No. Josh McKenna, $9.99. Thank you, Josh. Says, you explained the lawsuit well. Well, thank you. Appreciate that. I don't know the nitty-gritty details, so I tried to give as much of an informed opinion as I can, because again, I mean, even though I've spent most of my life as a voice actor, I started out as an on-camera actor, but most of my life I've been a voice actor. It's the same. I mean, the principles are the same. I've signed many NDAs in my life, many contracts in my life. I've dealt with the unions and non-unions, and I've dealt with the hoopla. I mean, it's the entertainment business. And so when I read articles that talk about actors and lawsuits and unions and things like that, even without understanding the fine details, I can understand it from a sort of an informed opinion, just because, again, there's a lot of verbiage that I understand. And I kind of know what's going on, even though I thankfully have never been involved in anything like that. Touch wood. But listen, I mean, look, the bottom line is, if she can prove it, then she's got a case. If it's just he said, she said, well, then Damien will probably win. At the end of the day. I saw some people on Instagram immediately call the lawsuit bullshit, and they don't sound informed. They just sound, well, some people will do that. Anytime somebody comes along, when something has made a lot of money and somebody comes along after the fact claiming that they're now owed this, it's a catch-22, right? It's a double-edged sword. There are people throughout history, no matter what the situation is, that do come forward and try to cash in later simply because they want money. That is true. That does happen. But I think it's important that we understand that there are people that are promised things. It doesn't materialize. Terrifier wasn't a big hit after 1. Terrifier 2 wasn't really a big hit. I mean, it made $15 million, but it was, now Terrifier 3 made $95 million. I mean, and now she's coming out. Well, yeah, look, two things can be true at the same time. Her coming out now doesn't necessarily mean she's lying. It means now she sees an opportunity that now I actually can, because maybe she didn't bother to come out before, because what the hell is he going to give me? I got $8,500. That's about what I was probably owed after that. Like, she's looking at, you know what I mean? Well, now it's a huge success, and she's kind of like, oh, wait a minute. So her coming out now doesn't automatically mean she's a gold digger. It now means she sees the opportunity to, maybe now she has a case. When you come out, how you come out, what your evidence is, that all plays into it as well. And so that doesn't mean that there aren't people that try to fuck around and just get money, true. But I think also there's an emotional attachment to it as well. There are people that love Art the Clown, love Terrifier, love Damien Leone and Phil Falcone. Is it Phil Falcone or whatever the other guys? Love all that stuff. And they see it as an attack on what they love. They see it, oh, well, why didn't you come out before? Why did you wait till now? And it's because, well, there are people in history that have done that. But there are also people that do have cases when they do that. And that's where the nuance comes in. That's where that's why I always say, and don't misunderstand me. I'm not saying I'm the world's most, foremost expert on every single thing in the entertainment industry. But having worked in the business for 25 years and being inquisitive and being somebody that likes to study this stuff and always be up on everything, I have experience with it, but I also like to read up on it, and so I can be informed on it. And that's why I always say to people, read up on how the entertainment industry works. Just read up on SAG, read up on SAG-AFTRA, read up on how it works. What do the unions do? What do they cover? What does scale mean? What is scale? I mean, did you know that there's different scale for different tiers of budgets? And did you read up on all that so that when these articles come on, when these things happen, you can read it and go, oh, I kind of know what they're talking about. And then when you talk about it, you can kind of talk about it from an informed perspective. Maybe you don't work in the business, and maybe you've never signed a contract or an NDA or whatever. Maybe you've never been an actor, so you can't talk about it maybe from that perspective, but you can at least be informed on, the 101 of it, right? There are so many people I see that, again, speak on it or jump to conclusions from an emotional standpoint. All those people that are saying, oh, why is it coming out now? Are talking about it from that emotional place where that does happen. But if they know, I mean, look what Disney tried to do to, Scarlett Johansson. Now that's a much bigger, much more hot, bigger thing. But it happens. These things do happen. And Damien Leone seems like a really nice guy. He's accessible. He's charismatic. He says the right things. He seems like a really nice guy. And I'm not saying that he's an asshole. I'm not saying that he went behind the scenes and went, hey, Phil, let's not do that. No, it could be there could be something he forgot about. There could be a reasonable explanation. There could be, oh, fuck, you're right. We signed that. Oh, I didn't know that. Oh, right. We got caught up. Oh, all that. And because you didn't say anything and, you don't have an agent, they didn't come forward. I didn't know. I mean, you should have said something. There could be It could be some of that, right? A little bit of column A, a little bit of column B. I mean, this doesn't mean that Damien's an asshole and that he's just suddenly, oh yeah, I'm trying to gyp that chick. I don't want to fucking pay her. Maybe, but that doesn't automatically mean that. There's a lot of nuance here. There's a lot of nuance. All we know is that there's a girl that said, hey, this is the conversation I had. This is what happened. This is what was promised to me, and I'm not getting it. Okay. All right. Well, does she have a case? That's the question. Does she have a case, and can she prove it? And if she can prove it, and prove it, without a shadow of a doubt, she's proved it. Well, it doesn't matter what the people think or what Damien thinks, right? She proved it, but that's going to be tricky. So many years after the fact, that's going to be very tricky because you are also dealing with the court of public opinion. Why now? What's going on? You got to be able to prove it, So we'll see what happens. Alex Cox says, Dave, are you still doing the stream Friday night? I am, but that's a great segue. Folks, for those of you that picked up the Bloodbath double feature, it's possible that I may have to move the show earlier. I maybe around 5 or 6 o'clock, maybe p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Right now it's scheduled for 8 p.m. I'm going to be sending everybody the link either tomorrow or Friday morning. The reason for that is because the Blue Jays are in the World Series for the first time in 32 years. The series is tied 2-2 right now. Baseball fans, non-baseball fans probably don't care. But if you know, this is a big deal. If the Blue Jays win tonight, they're playing again tonight. If they win tonight, they will be up 3-2 on the Los Angeles Dodgers, which means they only need to win one more and they've won the World Series. And that one more game, there's 2 more games left because it's a best of 7. But if they win tonight, they go up 3-2, which means they fly back to Toronto for games 6 and 7, which means game 6 is Friday night, Halloween night at the Dome. 50,000 people screaming, 40 million people across the country. It could be the first World Series the Toronto Blue Jays have won in 32 years. They could win it all Friday night. If they lose tonight and the Dodgers go up 3-2, I might keep it at 8 o'clock because, if the Dodgers win, they win. Who gives a fuck? If the Blue Jays win, that's great, but they haven't won the World Series yet. They've just tied it, so it's 3-3, and then the final game will be Saturday. So I don't know what to do, man. I'm kind of waiting to see what's going to happen here. And I'm not canceling it. It's Halloween night. It's either going to go on at 8 p.m. Eastern, or I might ask some of you, do you mind if we move it up to 5:36 maybe? I know that's right and but also don't forget, the stream's not going to go away. So even if you can't watch it live right at that moment, you will still be able to watch it because you're going to have the link. It's going to be up. Maybe you'll tune in for the last half of it and then you'll be able to watch it, the whole thing after the fact or something, right? It's still going to be there. So when the stream is done, I'm not taking it down. It's still going to be a link that you will have access to. So you can watch it later that night, Saturday, next week, next year if you want. It's still going to be there. But yes, because the Toronto Blue Jays are in the World Series, I didn't expect this. I knew the Jays were doing good, but I didn't think they were going to, they're in the World Series. They're on the cusp. Holy shit. It's the only baseball team in Canada. It's the Toronto Blue Jays. They haven't won the World Series since 1993, since I was 14 years old, right? This could be the first time they've done it in 32 years. They have to win 2 games still, and the Dodgers are a tough team. But it's crazy. It's tied 2-2. Everybody thought the Jays were going to lose 4-0. They haven't. They're giving the Dodgers a run for their money. It's tied 2-2. If they win tonight, they could win it all on Friday night. Oh my God. The whole country's going to go nuts. It's going to go crazy. Folks, last night, there were 40,000 people at the Rogers Center, which is the Sky. I still like to call it the Sky Dome. But there were 40,000 people. The Jays weren't even playing in Toronto last night. They were playing in LA, and there were 40,000 people in the Dome watching the Jays play on the Jumbotron. It's crazy. It's crazy. It's crazy. It's going to go crazy. This country is going to go mad because they are the underdogs. It is sort of a David versus Goliath thing. If the Blue Jays win, it's holy fuck. Because everybody's like, oh, the Dodgers are just they're gonna steamroll over the Blue Jays. And they still could. I mean, the Dodgers could win tonight and they could win back and it still could be the Dodgers win. But I don't know, man. I got a feeling. There's something, I don't know. Call me crazy. Call me crazy. There's something happening. I don't know. Anyways, we'll see. So, Alex says, I support that decision, Dave. Support your home team. DJ, JD, let's go Blue Jays. Yes, let's go Blue Jays. So, it's still going to happen, but I may move it from 8 to maybe 5 or 6, which means the show will still seep into the World Series, but maybe only by like half an hour or something. You know what I mean? And maybe I'll have like the World Series up on this screen over here and the movie up. I'll be like, yeah. Oh, sorry, guys. Sorry. I'm just kind of, oh my God, crazy stuff. Josh Stevens says, just stream the game and watch that instead. Bloodbath doubleheader. Oh, I see what you did there. Bloodbath doubleheader. I love it. That's good. I like that. Yeah, so do not fret. When I created the Bloodbath double feature, I didn't think the Blue Jays would be in the World Series on Halloween night. I mean, it's crazy. So, yeah, pretty cool. Chester Franklin Jr. says, Dave, what's your thoughts on Robert Englund receiving his Walk of Fame star on Friday? I think it's awesome. Well-deserved. Legendary horror icon. And I think they're going to stream it live, so I'm looking forward to it. I think it'll be a lot of fun. All right. Have we covered all of the super chats, the non-super chats? I think we did. The member chat from Cody the Zombie. Josh McKenna sends a super chat. Yes. Awesome. All right, folks. The Blue Jays game is starting. Game 5 right now. So you know what that means. That's going to do it for me. But we're almost at 2 hours. So this was a good show today. Folks, that is going to do it for me here on this episode of MCRAE Live. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you to the member chats, the super chats. Really appreciate that. If you're watching after the fact, jump into the comment section and let me know your thoughts on anything I had to say here today. But of course, specifically the main topic, Terrifier 3. What are your thoughts? Do you agree with me? Do you not agree with me? Jump into the comment section and let me know your thoughts. I would really like to know. Folks, that is going to do it for me. Have a great rest of your Wednesday night. Halloween is just around the corner. I am excited about it. I can't wait. Halloween night, Bloodbath double feature. Might be 8 p.m. Might be 5. I'll let everybody know because I'm sending out an email, so I'll let everybody know. Yeah, go Jays, go. All right, folks, have a great rest of your night and stay safe out there, and I will talk to you all very, very soon. All righty. Cheers.